Next on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
On this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, we'll learn more about how a strong mineral program is the basis of a healthy herd. Plus, we'll introduce you to this year's winner of the Environmental Stewardship Award program.
And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. Topping this week's cattle industry news, a study recently released by the University of California says that it's simply not true that consuming less meat and dairy products will help stop climate change. In the report released by UC Davis Associate Professor and Air Quality Specialist Frank Mitloehner says that, quote, smarter animal farming, not less farming, will equal less heat. Producing less meat and milk will only mean more hunger in poor countries. Mitloehner's research disputes the 2006 United Nations report entitled Livestock's Long Shadow, a report that attributed 18% of greenhouse gas emissions to the livestock sector. The UC Davis study suggests that in the United States, livestock production accounts for only about 3% of all greenhouse gas emissions, while transportation creates an estimated 26%. A portion of the funding for this research was supported by the beef checkoff. Exports continue to be a key piece of growing demand for U.S. beef. We have details on the 2010 trade outlook in this week's Market Watch.
Market Watch, brought to you by Pfizer Animal Health.
Joining me in the studio today is Brett Stewart, market analyst with Cattle Facts. Thanks for joining us again today, Brett.
Good to be here, Kevin.
You bet. Now, I've been noticing that some of the export data looks actually pretty encouraging in the first couple of months of this year. Very different from kind of a flatline approach of 2009. What do you anticipate over the next year in terms of beef exports?
You're right, Kevin. As we've seen the export data come in, we've seen exports trending a little higher the last few months, a little more optimism out of South Korea, some of these markets. We're looking at beef exports in 2010 to increase 8% roughly over 2009. The bulk of that growth will be seen out of Mexico, South Korea, even some growth into some of the lesser markets like Vietnam, the Philippines,
really?
Europe. Some of these markets are really starting to show increased demand.
That's good news. And what about pork and poultry? Obviously, the pork and poultry supplies impact net meat available here in the United States. What do you see from that from an export perspective?
Well, it's going to be critical here in 2010, even here in the short term, at what we're able to do with pork and poultry access. You're right, keeping those meats moving overseas is critical to our beef pricing, our beef net supplies. Right now, we're operating under a ban by Russia, which has kept U.S. poultry out since January 1. We estimate there's probably 200 million pounds of U.S. leg quarters that did not go to Russia due to that ban. Also, access issues with China over U.S. poultry that are going to limit that growth. So we're looking at U.S. poultry exports being down 6 to 8% next year. That's a little unnerving for us in the beef markets. On the pork side, they're also facing some access issues with Russia and China. However, we look at what's gone on to Mexico, some of these other markets. I think we could see our pork exports grow by 6-7% next year.
Okay. Now, talk to us a little bit longer term. You know, the heifers we're keeping this spring and breeding, we're not going to be marketing those calves at least until 2011 as feeder calves, or 2012 as we move to fats. What are your 3 to 5 year kind of projections of how this beef industry is going to look?
Well, I think we have a lot of reasons to be optimistic out the next even 5 years, 10 years. You look at the Asian markets and the enormous potential we have in countries like Japan and China. I know we're dealing with access issues there, but really, from a cow-calf or rancher standpoint, if I look out at the export markets and realize, one, we're adding 80 million people a year to this planet. Two, we're starting to see some good economic growth in these countries. And three, demand will continue to grow as we see that. I think there are a lot of reasons to be optimistic here in the cow-calf world longer term, 5 years, 10 years out.
At least the longer term horizon.
Driven by those export markets.
Yeah. And how should folks position themselves to capitalize on those export markets? What would your recommendations be?
Well, that's a good question. You know, the Sales 101 would tell us, hey, the customer is always right.
Right.
And that isn't always a line we like to hear, and change comes tough in our industry. We've been able to adapt and capture some of the value out of Japan with our source and age verification. But if we look at our competitors around the globe, we've been laggards. We've been slow to adopt these things that the consumers overseas are asking for. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all these countries have been very quick to adopt to those needs, traceability, source and age verification, whatever may help them compete. And we can't be deceived here. These guys are very aggressive competing with us overseas. We need to be a little more open-minded and a little more helpful as an industry to help promote these kind of things and move forward with what it takes to get into these plates of these overseas consumers.
That's a great point. I once heard the comment, customers may not always be right, but they're always the customer. And we have to keep that in mind, right?
That's right.
Thanks, Brett. We appreciate your time today, and thanks for all
Good
you
to
do
be
at
here,
Cattle
Kevin.
Facts. For more information from the experts at Cattle Facts, visit their website at cattlefacts.com. No matter what segment of the beef business you're involved in, there was a key takeaway message from the general session held during the 2010 Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show in San Antonio. A panel of experts say it's important to watch for the key drivers of change in our industry.
If we look at all the challenges in the industry, whether it be the activists, the cost, the volatility, the segmentation, or whatever, they can seem daunting. But the one thing I would encourage you to do is participate politically and in national organizations to support things that will improve beef demand.
Challenges and opportunities for the beef industry were the focus of the general session that drew a crowd of more than 2,000 cattle industry convention attendees. NCBA Director of Education Dr. Tom Field moderated a panel that included speakers from all segments of the industry, from seed stock and cow-calf producers on through to the retailer.
My bottom line message is that we always have to focus on the consumer. The person who is buying meat out of a meat case, even though they're directly interacting with us, the fact is they're buying our product. And if we lose sight on that consumer, or if we determine that perhaps she's just too difficult to focus on, I really think that we will continue to see declining demand, and we'll lose relevance with that customer. There are other options out there. And so consumers can choose with their dollars a lot of different ways. We don't focus on her, she'll go to somebody else who does.
I just think that there is opportunities in our industry. We have to be proactive in creating those opportunities, but we also have to work in places like NCBA to let consumers know about what we do and how we do it right, and increase their knowledge. Most people out there in the United States are getting so far removed from the farm, from the ranch, that we need to be proactive to tell them about what we do.
The panelists emphasized the need for beef industry participants to be innovative, and they said all segments of the beef industry must work together to tackle common challenges and build beef demand.
I think that it's really important that we continue to work together as an industry. If you think about, there's a lot of barriers to communication between our different business units, and we know that, and we know that it's difficult to have conversations with packers or retailers if you're on the production side of the equation. But the fact that we continue to dedicate resources to getting people together, I think, is critical to our success. We've come a long way over the past several years, maybe the past couple of decades, but continuing that dialogue is really critical, because when you understand someone else's business, you're able to make better business decisions as far as your own operation goes.
It doesn't matter whether you're retail, wholesale, the packer, we have to work together. And I know sometimes in our industry we can be adversarial, but we need to understand what they do, they need to understand what we do, and we all need to work together through the various segments to make it work.
We'd love to see you at the 2011 Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show, and it's right here in Denver, Colorado. For more information, visit our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. Ahead on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, we'll head to South Central Texas to learn more about the importance of a good mineral nutrition program in your operation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
More cattlemen choose Draxxin to fight BRD than any other brand. Here's why.
It works. We have fewer repulls, and the ones that we do repull respond, and we have fewer chronics in the end.
To retreat anything it's a lot more expensive than using Draxxin as a first time.
And the evidence backs up what most cattlemen already know. Draxxin cuts retreats by 50%. So talk to your veterinarian and check the online calculator at Draxxin.com. You'll see why Draxxin should be your first choice to fight BRD.
Basically what it's allowed us to do with our operation is run more cattle through in a given period of time. It's just really been a good product to use.
Do not use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older. Do not use in calves to be processed for veal. Draxxin has a pre-slaughter withdrawal time of 18 days. Please visit Draxxin.com or call 1-888-DRAXXIN for more information.
Tough trailers built for tough country. Big Ben Trailers manufactures a different kind of trailer, one that's built to put up with the rough conditions found on the ranch. Rugged build using heavy gauge powder coated steel and a 2x4 rectangle tube frame. There's a 1-inch gap between the side and floor, so there's no place for water or manure to accumulate and rust. Big Ben trailers are loaded with standard features: a lever action hitch, a 3-foot escape gate and a middle sorting gate, rhino lining along the front edges, and a receiver hitch to tow another trailer, chute, or other equipment. Tough and practical. That's Big Ben Trailers, designed and built by a working cattleman. You can rely on and trust Big Ben Trailers for their durability and convenient features. Reasonably priced for any rancher to afford. For a list of dealers and other design features, visit BigBenTrailers.com. Big Ben Trailers, built cattlemen tough.
Welcome back. A good mineral nutrition program is vital in order to maintain cattle health. But sometimes getting cattle to consume enough mineral, especially during harsh weather, is difficult. Reporter Jim Witt heads to the Dogays Diamond D Ranch in Poteet, Texas, where Land O'Lakes Purina Feeds is helping his cattle get the proper amount of mineral supplements to stay healthy.
When it comes to raising healthy cattle, a good mineral nutrition program is the main foundation.
It's one of those things that is maybe bottom of the mind, but it should be more top of the mind. And just keeping mineral out has so many benefits with reproduction in a cow herd, but also immunity and performance on stocker and growing cattle. It is such a critical factor in the overall production scheme in our cattle operations.
Cattle need 14 essential minerals in their diets to function properly. And even if one is missing, there can be major problems.
One that comes to mind right away oftentimes in this part of the world is with black cattle. If they start to get a red tinge to their hair coat across their back, then we may speculate that there's potentially a copper deficiency there. Or with even magnesium. We know right away we have a magnesium deficiency if that lactating cow is out on really lush, green, highly fertilized pasture and she goes down immediately. We kind of have an idea that there's a problem. Some of those things are very easy to detect right away.
But sometimes actually seeing the results of a mineral deficiency means it's too late to reverse.
Those subclinical mineral deficiencies we can't see are taking away the calf health at birth because colostrum not where it needs to be on that cow. Just weaker calves that don't get up and nurse right away, and that is significantly a problem. Then we have calves that just don't grow like they should. They're weaker, their immune system's not where it needs to be.
Land O'Lakes Purina Feeds' new Wind and Rain product helps ensure cattle get all the essential minerals they need to develop properly, despite the weather conditions.
The texture of the product is such that if a strong wind comes by, it's still going to be in the feeder when you go check it the next day. The other thing is that it's very resistant to moisture, very resistant to rain. In fact, if you have small holes in the bottom of your mineral feeder and the water can run out, it basically looks the same the next day once it's dried out. So both of those things really help bring some value when we talk about the Wind and Rain mineral line.
Mike Dogay, owner of the Diamond D Ranch in Poteet, Texas, knows it takes time to find the right mineral nutrition program, but he also understands the benefits of a successful one.
We've tried all types of different minerals, and we've just this spring started using the Purina tub. We started out with those tubs back in about March, and actually has had the best conception rate ever on our cow herd.
And the final numbers are astounding.
Before we started using that tub, we were lucky to get 85%. My manager, Timmy Luchek, told me that we were up to 95% pregnancy rate, so that's great.
A higher pregnancy rate now means higher profits later on.
If you just figure what we were getting, say 10% less, on 500 head, you're talking about 50 calves. Our registered calves, normally we average about 2,000 a piece, so that's $100,000.
Not only is the reproduction rate higher, but the correct amount of minerals in a cow's diet can also lead to healthier calves.
There's some really good Texas A&M ranch to rail research that shows that calves in the feed yard that came from cows that didn't have a good mineral supplementation program actually got sick much more often and were pulled at a greater frequency than calves that came from programs where the cows had good mineral supplementation programs.
We'll return to Poteet, Texas for more tips from the experts at Purina Feed next.
Purina's wind and rain minerals are research tested and field proven to provide balanced mineral nutrition essential for cattle health, growth, and reproduction. They're highly palatable so cattle consume what they need when they need it. And wind and rain mineral special formulation resists the elements so they won't blow out of the feeder and maintain their palatability even if they've been wet. Wind and rain cattle minerals from Purina Mills, building better cattle.
Are you hunting for membership value? Join the National Cattlemen's Beef Association to enjoy an exclusive member benefit. 15% off Cabela's gift cards from NCBA for your cattle business. You can use the cards to purchase all of your favorite Cabela's merchandise. Join NCBA today to take part in this outstanding savings program in addition to all of the benefits of being an NCBA member. Visit beefusa.org.
Get ready for the Rocky Mountain Roundup. Join the 2011 Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show in the city that gets 300 days of sun a year, Denver, Colorado. It's not only a great opportunity to connect with your fellow cattlemen, but you will also attend important industry meetings, find out about the newest technologies, and get all the information you need for a successful year. We'll see you in Denver at the Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show, February 2nd through the 5th. For more information, visit beefusa.org.
Welcome back. Let's return to reporter Jim Witt, who is learning more about the best way to get your herd to consume enough mineral during the harsh winter months.
The trick with any mineral nutrition program is, once you find the right one, you have to get the cattle to consume it.
It's extremely important, obviously, to have the right type of mineral supplementation in front of the cattle. In other words, it's balanced nutritionally to meet those cattle's needs in that particular geographical region. The problem is it can be the most well-balanced mineral product, and if the cattle don't eat it, it doesn't do you any good.
That's where the new formulation for Purina's Wind and Rain product comes into play.
We're really excited about the new Wind and Rain formula because it kind of takes those problems that you normally see with mineral supplementation out of the picture. Oftentimes you have a group of cows and there's a certain percentage of those cows that just are more timid to come to the mineral feeder. They just don't eat as much mineral. This new formulation really allows for those cows to eat more. And it does that without sacrificing the upper end intake. And what I'm saying by that is we have less overconsumption of mineral now too. So we're bringing the lower end cows that don't really eat mineral up without having overconsumption on the other end of the range as well.
Purina is working hard to help educate producers on how Wind and Rain can ultimately help increase value in their cattle operations.
We want the cattle to consume the mineral at the proper rate to be able to hit peak performance. With the brood cow man, of course, he's looking at reproductive performance, and then with the stocker operator, they're looking for weight performance and immunity and overall health. So we really try to point out those benefits on the wind and rain mineral that really help our producers become more profitable.
But they can't accomplish that without the help of their highly trained Purina dealers.
They provide superior service and knowledge to our customer base, and they're really the first line of communication when we really launch a mineral product like this.
During tough economic times, some producers might think that cutting a mineral supplement program is an easy way to save money, but that's one of the worst mistakes they can make.
The tendency is to cut corners, and mineral nutrition is one of those aspects that producers need to be very careful of, because it so drives so many metabolic functions of the cow and the growing bull and the growing stocker animal that it can end up costing them much more money than it'll save them by cutting out mineral nutrition.
You definitely can't cut back on nutrition, for the cattle. I mean, it's been tough sometimes paying that feed bill, but you just that's the worst thing you can do is especially mineral. It just cattle have to have that.
It's really hard for people to get over the fact that you don't see an immediate response when you supplement with a good mineral supplement like wind and rain. So you need to view it as a preventative measure, and it's very much what I call an insurance policy to your herd. It's a very low-cost way of making sure that these things that affect production and profitability don't come like a thief in the night and grab all your profits.
And the folks at Doge's Diamond D Ranch know they can always rely on Purina products, like wind and rain, to meet their nutritional needs.
Purina's been around, I guess, the longest of any feed in this country, so I fed it as a 4-H'er, and I still feed it today.
I've had a great working relationship with Doge's Diamond D Ranch here in Poteet, Texas. And what I really appreciate is they try to always think about the customer first and what will drive customer satisfaction, and they do that by providing a great product, both genetically and both well-developed using Purina products.
Reporting from Doge's Diamond D Ranch in Poteet, Texas, I'm Jim Witt for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
The new and improved wind and rain product is now available. For more information on how you can get this and other great Purina products, visit our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Sure, anyone can make a twine bale, but can you make them right bale after bale till the whole field is done? With a John Deere 458 Standard, you can. The new automatic twine tie system takes the headache out of wrapping a twine bale. It packs a whole lot of baler into one affordable package. Ready to show those twine bales who's boss? Talk to your John Deere dealer today.
You take pride in the beef you raise. Countless hours invested to assure a safe and wholesome calf crop. Why trust that calf crop to just anyone? Experience the new Dinklage difference with a long history and reputation for outstanding performance and cattle care. We use a combination of cutting-edge technologies and data-driven decision-making to establish our place as leaders in the cattle feeding industry. Allow Dinklage to be a part of your team in the quest to maximize your profits. With 5 locations to serve you in Wyoming, Nebraska, and Colorado. For more information on the new Dinklage difference, stop by one of our yards or visit us on the web at dinklagefeedyards.com.
2 100% pure USDA inspected patties are only the beginning of what make the Big Mac famous, and that's what we're made of.
Welcome back. Each year, the National Cattlemen's Foundation, the National Conservation Resource Service, and Dow AgriSciences recognizes outstanding farms and ranches who put the environment first. Let's introduce you to this year's national winner of this award.
It's early morning in the Sacramento Valley, and the Wood family is gathering cattle. Daryl and Callie Wood, their son Ramsey, and daughter Dallas work together in the Levitt Lake Ranches. They winter their cattle in the warmer climate of the Vina Plains, while their summer operations are located in the higher elevations near Susanville, California.
We do have quite a variety. We run cattle on the public lands, the BLM, high desert country, up to the 6,000 elevation, where it takes 50 acres per cow to be able to go through the summertime, all the way down to the Sacramento Valley where annual rains hit. We're able to run a cow-calf pair for on every 5 acres. Some of our irrigated ground in the high mountain areas will run a cow-calf to an acre for the season. So they're very, very different, all have to be managed carefully.
All three of these ranches here in Lassen County, when we bought them, they weren't in very good shape. Cattle were run year-round and run very hard. So it took us a while to turn it around.
Working to be sustainable, the Wood family built a diversified operation that includes 600 commercial and purebred Angus cows, irrigated hay production, and marketing their own finished beef. Today, Levitt Lake Ranches includes nearly 40,000 acres in a mix of owned, leased, and public lands.
I try to run the cows to fit the ranch rather than the ranch to fit the cows. I think that works better that way. And ultimately, if it's good for the natural resource, it's good for cattle.
We have fenced off the riparian areas in quite a few of our ranches and put in water troughs. We have done a lot of intensive rotational grazing to help the land and the cattle.
Daryl and Callie's families have been ranching in California since the 1850s. But after they married, they had to build their own operation from scratch. Now they've reacquired ranches that were in the family generations ago, and they've transformed land that had become run down.
My parents really love the land, and we really wouldn't be here if they didn't, because ranching's really hard. And especially when you buy new ranches that really aren't in the best shape, you really have to work hard to get them sustainable and beautiful and working correctly.
Levitt Lake Ranch really didn't have much done to it for about 20 years for the most part, so we put in whole new irrigation systems, built new fences, replanted all the fields just to try to make it sustainable.
They're very involved in partnerships with NRCS, with the Partners for Wildlife, with Ducks Unlimited, with California Rangeland Trust, with the whole gamut. They've been out there front and center looking for partnerships that can help them enhance their ranches.
In fact, the Woods partnered with NRCS to permanently place a portion of their ranch in the Grassland Reserve Program, protecting it from development. In addition, they've restored wetlands and worked with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to bring Pete's Creek back to health.
I'm seeing a lot of the banks that were once eroded are now healed. I'm seeing just a tremendous diversity of wetland plants along the creek. I'm seeing very diverse upland areas, just an outstanding wildlife habitat.
Well, I definitely know, with the increased irrigation and the increased feed sources that the wildlife, the geese, the deer populations seem to have increased.
On the Vina Plains, we have an abundance of vernal pools which host fairy shrimp and a bunch of other endangered plants that are in these areas. Cattle grazing has been very beneficial for those. We've managed them very carefully.
Whether protecting endangered species like those in the vernal pools, maintaining a fish ladder for salmon to get upstream, or installing a pond to provide stock water and wildlife habitat, the Woods have made stewardship a part of their daily ranch life.
In order to have a sustainable ranch, you need to be the steward of the land. And by doing what we're doing, by irrigating and rotational grazing, and really just working with the NRCS and to improve our land, I believe is stewardship.
Stewardship is just like values that you do learn from your parents or grandparents, and it is passed down. Our children watch what we've done, and to them, that's what should be done. And we've just always had a love of the land.
You know, I take quite a bit of pride in knowing that this ranch is going to look like this in perpetuity, not only for my kids and their kids, but their generations down the line, and I feel very good about that.
At this year's Cattle Industry Annual Convention, I had the chance to catch up with the folks from the Leavitt Lake ranches. I'm here with the 2009 Environmental Stewardship Award winner, the Darrell and Callie Wood family and Leavitt Lake Ranches of California. Darrell, how does it feel this evening to be this year's winner?
What an honor. I never expected this, and it's just a pleasure to be here, and I don't think mere words can express our feelings at this point. So,
outstanding. And Callie, I know you made a comment that environmentalism is like values. You pass it on to your children. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, I just believe values are learned from your parents and your grandparents. And when children watch what you do and you're doing the right thing, then that's what they learn to do. They pass it on to the next generation.
What are some of the things that you've noticed that are better about the ranch now than they were, say, 5 or 6 years ago?
Well, for one, the weed populations have gone down dramatically just by the proper usage of cattle rotation and haying and general practices that we've incurred. The whole ranch itself is healthier. That's definitely the biggest thing that I've noticed.
And what would you tell folks about the sheer amount of work that your family puts together in trying to improve the land and its resources?
It's a lot of hard work, but it's paid off pretty well. And we're just so proud to be able to get this award because there were so many great nominees, and we just feel really honored to be able to be selected.
Darrell, I want to ask you a question for folks out there who are thinking about the kinds of things they could be doing to improve their land and the resources. What advice would you give them?
Well, to begin with, I would certainly use the experts that we have in our government agencies, such as the U.S. NRCS, U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They have the folks and the manpower to be able to help all ranchers improve what they have and take it to the next level. And I would certainly, not hesitate to ask for that advice. So,
well, it's a wonderful story and some great accomplishments. We appreciate you being here. Congratulate you, and once again, the 2009 Environmental Stewardship Award winners, the Leavitt Lake Ranches from Vina, California. You can learn more about the Environmental Stewardship Awards program and the National Cattlemen's Foundation on our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Profit, confidence, value. That's what you get with Tri-Merit, a USDA process-verified program brought to your operation by Global Animal Management Incorporated. Tri-Merit's data management system certifies traditional health processes as well as verifies age and source of individual and groups of animals. To learn more about how Tri-Merit can play a positive role in your operation, visit mygamonline.com.
From fresh tomatoes to potatoes and chicken to beef, we're as picky about our quality ingredients as you are. Because that's what we're made of.
Welcome back. Each year, the Beef Quality Assurance Program recognizes a beef producer and a dairy producer who do outstanding work to ensure the well-being of their cattle. This week, we introduce you to a BQA Dairy Award winner, Phoebe Bittler.
Phoebe Bittler of Vista Grand Farm is a key leader in Pennsylvania's dairy and beef industries. The Pennsylvania Beef Council, PBC, and the Pennsylvania BQA Commission proudly nominated her for the 2009 BQA Award for a dairy producer. She has served on both boards and as PBC chair for a one-year term. As a producer spokesperson, she has been invaluable to the cattle and beef industries in Pennsylvania. Phoebe is a member of the Dairy Task Force, currently chairs the dairy stakeholders and represents the dairy sector on both the Beef Council and BQA Commission. Vista Grand Farm was founded in 1937 by Phoebe's parents.
I was born here and I lived all of my life here except for 2 years. My husband and I started farming when we first were married in southern Lancaster County, so all but 2 years I've been here. My dad was always my mentor, and so therefore I picked up the love of the animals and the love of the land just like he had.
She grew up on the registered Holstein farm, and her 4-H project cows paid for her college degree and also helped to build the foundation for the dairy herd that she and Dave began in 1977. Today, Vista Grand Farm is a registered Holstein dairy farm with 100 milk cows.
Over the years, the farm has changed somewhat, but yet the focus has always been purebred Holsteins, and our main commodity is selling milk as well as breeding stock.
The Bittlers also run a dairy replacement business with 150 females. They farm 420 acres producing feed crops for the livestock.
We grow all the crops to feed the cattle. It's been a dairy farm as long as I've been here and as long as I've been alive.
The Bittlers practice BQA principles in their everyday work. They focus on prevention systems, such as provision for cow comfort through regular hoof trimming, water beds, tunnel ventilation, providing large quantities of clean, fresh water. They use reproductive and genetic management to extend longevity. They provide proper balanced nutrition based on high-quality forages. They monitor proper use and withdrawal on drugs. And they handle the cows calmly. Phoebe believes firmly that they and their cattle are a team. They work in partnership.
Probably the thing that surprises folks the most when I tell them about how we care for our cattle and what we do for them, when I tell them that I know better what shots or what vaccinations my calves got than what my son got before he went to school, it kind of blows them away that I actually do keep track of those kinds of things, and that they're identified. They have a photo and they're registered. There's a paper on them. I know all of their ancestry.
They also provide extensive training to hired labor.
It's really important to explain to employees what you're doing and why you're doing it. I have found often that if you just tell them what to do, it doesn't make the impact until they see the reason as to why you do it. And sometimes it's learned by a hard lesson. Have to see the result of not doing something properly before it makes the real impact.
Phoebe recognizes that not all new hires have the patience or demeanor to work with cattle. If this is the case, she will shift personnel quickly, rather than jeopardize the productivity, wellness, and comfort of their dairy cattle.
We function as a team here on the farm. My husband starts his day making all the feed for the cattle. Our son feeds the milking herd and the young stock, and I take care of all of the babies, the replacements. We all do that in the morning. We come together at breakfast time, and that's kind of our, let's say, our board meeting for the day, and kind of see which way we're heading, what we're doing.
Beyond simply applying BQA practices to her own operation, Phoebe helps deliver key messages to fellow beef and dairy producers in the Northeast.
I think it's very critical for us always to be looking for new ways to do things and improve our operations.
Along with her husband Dave and son Jesse, Vista Grand Farms has frequently hosted both Ag in the Classroom and Ag Media Tour events. They recently hosted a dairy beef quality assurance training event. Phoebe Bittler personifies the values of this prestigious award. She is a country girl with devotion, compassion, and commitment to fervently serving her industry any way she can. She will make a great national BQA spokesperson for both the dairy and beef industries. Congratulations, Phoebe.
Did you know that you can become certified in beef quality assurance best practices? To do so, visit our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. We'll be right back.
I'd like a moment with you cow-calf folks to talk about BQA, the Beef Quality Assurance Program. BQA has been designed to reduce bruises, blemishes, lamenesses, and impolite behavior in the calves you market. The point is to guarantee as best we can to our buyers and to consumers that we cattlemen know what we're doing, that we're treating our animals right, and the meat they buy is safe and wholesome. Now, most of the big feedlots and ranchers have signed on already, but that leaves the rest of us, and even if you only have 20 cows and a job in town, you need to be involved. Because every calf you sell is going to wind up on a plate someday, and we want our customers, all of them, to have a great dining experience, right? BQA helps furnish you with management tools and useful information to increase the value of your calves. So check it out at bqa.org and see what it takes to be involved in your stake, because it's the right thing to do.
Comprehensive, practical, powerful. Now's the time to put the power of DNA to work in your herd with the comprehensive Identity Profile. The inside information from Identity can help you make more confident replacement heifer and herd sire selection decisions, add marketability to your feeder cattle, make faster genetic progress, and more. The best time to get started is when you're already working cattle, during branding, weaning, or bull soundness exams. Get started today. Visit iGenity.com or call 1-877-IGENITY to put the power of DNA to work in your herd.
It's a part of a cowboy's wardrobe that has both function and a rich heritage, the cowboy hat. We recently had a chance to learn more about both the function and the fashion of today's cowboy hats from our friends up at Greeley Hat Works.
I think the reason the cowboy hat has endured is, you know, I guess really it's a symbol of the American West and of freedom. And, you know, you could watch liberal media and hear how much everybody hates America. I sell a ton of cowboy hats in England, Switzerland, Germany, France, Australia, all these different places that they might not like our policies in the U.S., but they love cowboys, they love American West. So we started out in the front, the showroom of the store, but I'd like to show you around the back here. So once we get the order in, we start by cutting the sweatband, and that's where we do this over here. And we use several different colors of sweatbands. It kind of depends on the customer or the order, but we print them. We can print your name on them. Some of the equipment we use is made so we can cut them specific sizes. Otherwise, we'll cut the sweatband right to your head pattern. So all of our hats are all kind of one size fits no one. They come in different colors and different qualities. And once we do that, we'll bring them over here and we'll get ready to start blocking the hats. Now what the blocking does is pushes a block into the crown of the hat so that we could steam it. The steam actually helps lock the fibers together, so that makes what makes a good hat tight and stiff. Okay, so what we do over here, once we pick out the appropriate hat body, and we've had your head measured or we know what size hat you wear, depending on the style, we'll pick out the appropriate hat block for your hat. Once we do that, we'll get ready to put it in this machine here. This is called a finger blocker, and what this is going to do is push the block of the hat into the crown of the hat body, like this. So once we do that, we'll let it cool. Let it cool in here for 5 to 10 minutes, and once it's cooled and it comes out, you'll now see that the crown of the hat is into the hat body. Like this. So now we have a definite break line from the crown and the brim of the hat. We'll tie this onto the hat block, and once it's cool is when we'll start the sanding process. So what we've done here is we've already blocked the hat, pressed the brim flat, and we've already sanded the crown of this hat. All the nap is going down in one direction, and all the felt has been sanded down, ironed, and lured or re-greased, because it's like hair. You have to put good oil back into it since we've kind of dried it out with our process. And now what we've done is cut the brim, and we're starting to work on the brim here. And that's what Jacob here is doing, is hand sanding the brim of the hat. Once we take it out of the blocker, we need to press that brim flat, and that's what we do here with these sandbag presses. We'll put the hat into a flange, and this helps differentiate the crown from the brim and makes a break line where later we will actually sew the sweatband into the hat. So now that we've blocked and flanged the hat, sanded it, trimmed the brim. We're ready to sew the sweatband in. So the first thing we do is test the sweatband in the hat, make sure everything's fitting up nice. Now the sewing machine we're going to be using is an old Singer. This was built in the late 20s. And you'll see it has a really long neck on it, and that's to allow this to go, for the brim to fit into the machine. And now the sweatband is sewn into the hat. After this, we'll take it over to Sharon, where the excess that we cut off of the brim, we actually turn into a self-band made out of felt with a buckle on it, and that's normally how we trim the hats. But as always, it's a custom hat. We'll do it however you like. So here's a custom hat that we've just finished up. It's got the self-band with a silver buckle. The brim's been cut to 4 inches. The sweatband's been sewn in, and we've actually made a cedar pattern of his head. It's all been lined, natural leather sweatband. His name's been put in the hat. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and crease it to his specifications from when we measured him at the show. And once again, the steam is softening up those fibers or the scales on the hair. And then as it cools off, they'll interact with each other and kind of grab onto each other and get stiff again. And that's what makes a good hat. So really not a whole lot has changed over the course of 100 years. Still done by hand and still loving what we do. So there we go. Fit right to the exact shape of his head, creased up and ready to be shipped out.
It's amazing to see those hats being made, and even more amazing to wear one. For more information on Greeley Hat Works, visit our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. Stay with us. Baxter Black is up next.
It would be great if all calves could be born under ideal conditions, but unfortunately, Mother Nature isn't always kind, and calving conditions can be less than ideal. And sometimes Mama isn't able to provide the amount or quality colostrum needed to get the newborn calf up and running. In times like these, Mother Nature needs a hand. Feed the baby calves Colostrix Plus as soon as possible after they're born. Colostrix Plus gives them the disease-fighting globulin proteins they need to stay healthy. Colostrix Plus now has 55 grams of globulin protein in every dose, more than any other colostrum supplement. When Mother Nature needs a helping hand, give her the best help you can. Put your trust in Colostrix Plus. To learn more about Colostrix Plus, contact your AgriLabs representative. Visit colostrix.com or call 800-542-8916.
Why is B&W's turnover ball the best-selling gooseneck hitch in the country? Maybe it's the ingenious way it solves everyday problems. Or because it's time-tested and is rated to tow 30,000 pounds. Maybe it's because our lifetime warranty gives hard-working people peace of mind. Or maybe it's because folks love to own a hitch that's still 100% made in America. The turnover ball by B&W. Trusted.
70% of consumers want to know where their food comes from, and how can we ignore them? IMI Global offers third-party audited source and age verification essential for export markets and specialty markets like natural, organic, omnivoric, Eskimo, or possibly recovering vegan certified. For quality and age producers, to the big boys, any cattleman who wants to expand his market, you're not just buying this green ear tag, you're buying peace of mind. IMIglobal.com. My papa told a story from his childhood Dust Bowl days. He was out riding fences, trying to find them anyways, when he saw a cowboy buried in the sand up to his waist. Papa trotted up behind him till he saw the feller's face. "How you doing?" asked my papa, careful not to be blindsiding. The cowboy tipped his hat, looked up and said, "I'm fine. I'm riding." Well, as time went by, Papa grew and finally found a girl. But the big war put him on a ship and clear around the world. Their letters, few and far between, were sweet in many ways. She would write him love and kisses and inquire about his days, about his health and meals and mental state and how he was abiding. "Don't worry, darling, I'll be home," he said. I'm fine. I'm right. Back home, they bought a little place and started raising cattle, corn and kids and country. Never saw life as a battle, but a chance, an opportunity. Took the bitter with the sweet, so busy with their daily chores, just making loose ends meet. Sometimes they'd pass each other like two ships at sea a-gliding. He'd peck her cheek, she'd squeeze his hand. We're fine, they'd say, we're right. Well, their life went by, and they got old. And then she had a stroke, and he held her till the medics came, but ne'er a word she spoke. He prayed like he had never prayed to heal the one he loved. And when the wheelchair brought her home, he thanked the Lord above. I've been so worried, he said in tears. Her smile began to widen. He touched her face and read her lips. I'm fine, she said. I'm right. Well, some will see their life half empty. Some will see their cup half full. Some will only open one eye and find living miserable. But if you're fine and riding, you can see and you can plan, 'cause life's got a lot to offer if your head's not in the sand. This is Baxter Black from out there, and I'm fine. I'm right.
Thanks, Baxter, and keep right on riding. Thanks for joining us for this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. We look forward to seeing you here next week on RFD TV.